Welcome, brave listener, to tonight's tale of shadows and forgotten lore. Let us step together into a past where mystery and dread intertwine. Title: The Whispering Shadows of St. Augustine. Chapter 1: The Scent of Salt and Secrets. The year was 1692, and the air in St. Augustine, Florida, kissed by the Atlantic breeze, carried a distinct briny scent. It was a strange contrast to the growing unease among the townsfolk, a palpable tension that hovered like the humidity, thick and cloying. The sun, a waning orange disk, cast long shadows on the cobblestone streets, where Spanish architecture whispered tales of the old world, and the scent of citrus mingled with the salt from the sea, creating an atmosphere both vibrant and ominous. Ana Maria de la Vega stood at her window, the iron bars casting delicate shadows across her face. Her father, Don Santiago, had been a soldier for the Spanish crown, and his teachings of honor and loyalty often echoed in Ana's mind. Yet now, as the town bustled with rumors of witchcraft and curses, she felt torn between the world she had known and a darker undercurrent that seemed to pull at her very soul. "Do you hear them?" she murmured to her brother, Louis, who sat with a book of ancient legends open on his lap. The wind outside carried faint whispers, like the voices of the restless dead, and Louis, ever the skeptic, dismissed her fears with a wave of his hand. "Just the wind, Ana, nothing more." His voice was calm, but the tremor in his hand suggested he too felt the weight of the town's unease. But Ana could not shake the feeling that something sinister lurked just beyond the horizon. The townsfolk had spoken of the Sea Witch, an old woman who lived on the outskirts of St. Augustine, believed to possess powers granted by dark forces. Children went missing, and crops failed, their once bountiful yield now rotting under an unforgiving sun. In the fading light, Ana could see the silhouette of Fort Castillo de San Marcos, its coquina walls a silent witness to centuries of bloodshed and conquest. The fort loomed over the town, a reminder of the struggles that had shaped their lives. It was said that within its walls, ghosts of soldiers haunted the battlements, their spirits trapped by the weight of their unfulfilled destinies. Hash break. Chapter 2: The Gathering Storm. As twilight descended, the town's taverns filled with murmurings of strange happenings. Candle flames flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls, while the scent of roasted meats and spiced wines mingled with the smoke of burning herbs. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the old woman, claiming she was the source of their misfortunes, a curse woven into the very fabric of their lives. Ana and Louis decided to investigate the rumors that had taken hold of the town. Armed with nothing but a lantern and their resolve, they slipped into the evening shadows, weaving through the cobbled streets until they reached the outskirts of the town, where the dense mangroves thinned out to reveal a small, crumbling hut. It was there that the Sea Witch was said to reside. The air grew heavy with the stench of decay as they approached the dwelling. The windows were dark, but a flicker of movement caught Ana's eye. She glanced at Louis, who looked equally uneasy. The hut appeared abandoned, yet the rustling of leaves and the distant sound of the ocean hinted at life within. Ana reached for the wooden door, its surface rough under her fingertips. As she pushed it open, a wave of damp, musty air rushed out, filling her lungs with a suffocating weight. The interior was dimly lit, the walls lined with jars containing odd specimens, dried herbs, curious bones, and other remnants of nature that whispered secrets long forgotten. "Do you see?" Ana whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. "This is where she works her magic." Louis stepped further inside, his skepticism tempered by the oppressive atmosphere. "Perhaps we should leave," he murmured, but Ana was already drawn to a table at the room's center, where a small altar was adorned with candles and strange symbols etched into the wood. As she leaned closer, the air grew colder and a sudden chill coursed through her. The flame of the lantern flickered, casting dancing shadows that seemed to reach out towards her. In that moment, the front door slammed shut behind them, as if the very house itself had come alive. "Who dares enter my sanctuary?" a voice rasped from the shadows. Ana spun around, her heart racing, as an ancient figure emerged, a woman with wild white hair, eyes like stormy seas, and a presence that felt both powerful and terrifying. "I seek only the truth," Ana stammered, trying to maintain her composure despite the overwhelming fear coursing through her. The Sea Witch's lips curled into a knowing smile. "Truth comes at a price. What are you willing to sacrifice for knowledge?" Hash break. Chapter 3, Curses and Ciphers. Days turned into nights, and the unease in St. Augustine deepened. Anna and Louis had become unwilling participants in a game far more complex than they had anticipated. The Sea Witch had given them a task, to uncover the origins of a curse that had plagued their town since it was founded. They were to decipher an ancient manuscript, one that spoke of a ritual to break the chains binding the spirits of the past. The manuscript lay before them, pages yellowed with age, the text written in a language that twisted their tongues. Louis, with his scholarly pursuits, made sense of the words while Anna deciphered the illustrations, which seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. Each image depicted scenes of sacrifice, betrayal, and otherworldly entities that danced on the fringes of their understanding. The spirits must be appeased, Louis read aloud. Only then will the curse be lifted. But how? Anna's voice trembled as she traced a finger over an illustration depicting a sacrifice. A young girl, her arms raised towards the heavens, surrounded by shadowy figures. What do they demand? Something dear, Louis whispered, his eyes wide. Something of great value. The weight of their task settled heavily upon them, and Anna felt the shadows of the past encroach upon their present. Rumors had begun to spread, whispers of strange happenings and ominous omens. The townsfolk spoke of shadows moving against the grain of reality, and children who had begun to mention a whispering lady in their dreams, an echo of the Sea Witch, perhaps, or something darker. As they delved deeper into the manuscript, Anna began to experience unsettling visions. She would see flashes of a girl, dressed in white, standing at the edge of the ocean, her eyes vacant yet pleading. The figure would disappear as quickly as it had come, but the urgency of her presence lingered like a fading echo. That night, as Anna lay in bed, she heard the soft sound of waves lapping against the shore, intermingled with whispers that seemed to call her name. The walls of her room began to tremble, and shadows danced in the corners, twisting and turning in a macabre waltz. She jolted upright, her heart pounding, and caught a glimpse of her reflection in the window, a face that was not her own, eyes filled with despair. "Louis," she cried, throwing open the door and racing to her brother's room. She found him hunched over the manuscript, his brows furrowed in concentration. "What's wrong?" he asked, startled. "I saw her." "The girl by the ocean." Anna's voice was frantic. I feel as though she's trying to tell me something." Louis pushed back his chair, his eyes sharp. "What if she's trying to warn us?" As they shared their fears, the lantern flickered violently, casting a series of grotesque shadows that danced upon the walls. Their surroundings contracted, the once familiar room morphing into a suffocating chamber of dread. "We must finish the manuscript," Louis decided. "Only then can we understand what she wants." Hash break. Chapter 4. The Ritual of Shadows. Days passed as the siblings devoted themselves to decoding the manuscript. The shadows seemed to thicken around them, whispering secrets they were too hesitant to grasp. Meanwhile, the town grew increasingly paranoid, with accusations of witchcraft flying faster than the summer storms. The Sea Witch had warned them of what was coming if they failed. Each time Anna ventured outside, she felt the weight of gazes upon her, suspicion like a palpable fog. It was clear that the curse had woven its way into the very fabric of St. Augustine, blurring the lines between friend and foe. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in shades of purple and blue, they unraveled the final pieces of the manuscript. The ritual demanded a sacrifice, a binding of the living with the dead. To appease the spirits, they would need to summon the girl from Anna's visions. The siblings gathered the necessary items: a lock of Anna's hair, a sea shell from the shore, and a candle made from beeswax, each representing a tie to life. The Sea Witch had instructed them to perform the ritual at the shore under the light of the full moon, when the veil between worlds would be thinnest. Under the silvery moonlight, they traced a circle in the sand and laid their offerings at its center. The wind howled around them, mingling with the sounds of the waves crashing against the rocks. As they began to chant the incantation inscribed in the manuscript, Anna felt an electric thrill coursing through her. The air thickened, the sea foamed violently, and shadows began to swirl around them. Suddenly the girl appeared, her translucent figure shimmering like sunlight on water. Her mouth moved, but no sound escaped. Only the roar of the ocean filled their ears. Anna stepped forward, drawn to her ethereal presence. "What do you want?" she whispered, desperate for understanding. The girl extended a hand, and suddenly the world around them shifted. Memories flooded Anna's mind. Visions of a shipwreck, a storm that had claimed many lives, and the girl herself lost and alone. A deep sadness enveloped Anna. "You never found peace," she realized, tears streaming down her face. "We will help you. We'll end the curse." The girl nodded, her expression a mix of hope and sorrow. But as the chant grew louder, the shadows around them twisted and writhed. A chorus of anguished wails filled the air as restless spirits emerged from the depths of the ocean, their faces contorted in grief. Hash break. Chapter 5, The Night of Reckoning. The spirits swirled in a tempest of rage, their outstretched hands reaching toward Anna and Louis as if seeking refuge from their eternal suffering. The overwhelming cacophony nearly drowned out their chant, but the siblings pressed on, anchoring their resolve in the belief that they could break the curse. "Find the heart of the departed," the girl's silent plea resonated within Anna. She turned back to the manuscript, her heart racing. "We need to bind their spirits to something tangible, something that ties them to this world." Louis's mind raced alongside his sister's. "The altar," he exclaimed. The old woman's hut, abandoned on the fringes of the town. Its altar might hold the key to binding the spirits and setting them free. With newfound determination, they fled the beach, the echoes of wailing spirits following them like a relentless tide. The wind whipped around them, and shadows chased at their heels, determined to reclaim them. Back at the hut, darkness enveloped them as they entered, the altar now appearing more foreboding than before. A heavy sense of despair hung in the air, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. The wind outside howled like a creature in agony. "Find the object," Louis urged, searching frantically through the jars and artifacts scattered around the room. Anna moved to the altar, her heart pounding as she recalled the girl's image, the offering that had been made so long ago. Among the relics, she found a small, intricately carved shell, a piece of the girl's history, a remnant of life before the storm. The moment her fingers brushed against it, a shockwave of energy surged through her, igniting a connection to the spirits surrounding her. "Louis," she shouted, holding the shell aloft. This is what we need." As they began to chant once more, the shadows around them began to swirl, their wrath transforming into a chaotic dance of energy. The spirits fell silent, their anguished faces now peaceful as if drawn by something greater than fear. With each word spoken, Anna and Louis felt the pulsing of the altar beneath their feet. The room grew brighter, light illuminating the darkness that had swallowed it for far too long. The girl's figure appeared before them once more, her expression now one of serene understanding. In a final crescendo, they released the energies binding the spirits to that place, their cries merging into a single harmonious sound as they ascended into the light. The shadowy mass began to dissipate, and in its wake, the oppressive weight that had hung over St. Augustine for centuries lifted. Our journey ends, yet echoes linger in the corridors of history. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep the candles burning.